Padre Pio is widely recognized as one of the most beloved and venerated saints in the Catholic Church, mainly for his extraordinary gifts and his message deeply rooted in orthodoxy. However, despite his holiness and his position as a priest, he does not enjoy the popularity he should have among the clergy. One possible explanation for this discrepancy lies in the strong warnings he issued throughout his life, especially regarding the apostasy of a significant number of priests. Padre Pio, known for his mystical visions and intimate communion with heaven, had spiritual experiences that enabled him to understand future truths that remained hidden to many. Among these revelations, his special relationship with a young Polish priest, Karol Wojtyla, who would later become Pope John Paul II, stands out. Padre Pio, in his clairvoyance, knew of this priest's great destiny and gave him two vitally important revelations, which we will explore later. These prophecies revealed to the future pope highlight Padre Pio's prophetic gift and his mission to warn of difficult times that would affect the clergy and the church as a whole. Padre Pio also had a profound knowledge of the third secret of Fatima, something that was granted to him because of his immense trust in Jesus and the Virgin Mary. The visions he received in advance revealed what Our Lady had shown the humble children at Fatima in 1917. In one of these visions, which took place on March 28, 1913, Jesus appeared to Padre Pio, wounded, disfigured, and weeping bitterly. Perplexed and saddened to see the Lord in such a state, the Capuchin friar asked why he was crying. Jesus' answer was painful. Many priests and high dignitaries of the church were acting in a reckless and unworthy manner, causing him deep sadness, disgust, and tears of bitterness. The vision of a suffering Christ and the warnings about apostasy in the clergy deeply marked Padre Pio's heart, and he bore this burden with prayer and sacrifice throughout his life. His mission to draw attention to these spiritual deviations still resonates strongly, especially today, when the faith continues to be challenged from within and outside the church. A second revelation from Jesus to Padre Pio had an even deeper and more painful content. Jesus told him, "My son, don't think that my agony lasted only 3 hours. For the sake of the souls who benefit most from me, I will be in agony until the end of the world." With these words, Jesus revealed the continual burden he carries due to the ingratitude and apathy of many, especially those who should be his most faithful servants, the priests. He deeply regretted the way his ministers, for whom he had sacrificed so much, returned his love with indifference and spiritual neglect, further increasing his agony. Padre Pio, with Jesus' permission, was allowed to share this painful revelation with his two spiritual directors, so that they would know about the grave infidelity of many people consecrated to the church. Through his prayers and penances, Padre Pio sought to intercede for these priests, whose faith was wavering, often entangled in the ideological and spiritual traps that the modern world presented. He saw, with great sadness, that an unprecedented apostasy was approaching, and that many of the shepherds called to guide Christ's flock would succumb to the doubts and deceptions of the world. This apostasy, according to the revelations made to Padre Pio, would be caused by two main dangers: the cooling of love for God and the distortion of the Church's true dogmas. Ideological disputes, both outside and inside the Church, would promote a division so deep that the unity of the body of Christ would be seriously threatened. Atheistic systems hostile to the faith would attack the Church relentlessly, and for a time, she would seem almost erased from the world. It would be reduced to a small, faithful flock, a remnant that would keep the true faith alive in the midst of spiritual darkness. However, it was also revealed that it would be precisely this small group of faithful, those who remained firm in the truth proclaimed by Jesus Christ, who would see the definitive triumph of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. Through this faithful flock, a new era of peace and love would emerge, rebuilding a humanity renewed and reconciled with God. This promise of Mary's triumph and the restoration of the Church, although distant in the midst of pain and division, offered profound hope for the difficult times that Padre Pio foresaw. His life of prayer and sacrifice became a living testimony that, even in the midst of the greatest darkness, Fidelity to the Lord and His Blessed Mother can bring the light of a new era, marked by peace and divine love. There was one priest who held a special place in Padre Pio's heart, Karol Wojtyla, who would later become Pope John Paul II. During his doctoral studies in Rome, the young Polish priest first heard about the Capuchin friar. Fascinated by the stories about Padre Pio's holiness and spiritual gifts, Wojtyla decided, in April 1948, to meet him in person. This visit, simple at first glance, left a deep and permanent mark on Wojtyla's life. Two specific memories of that stay remain engraved in his soul: the powerful experience of taking part in the Holy Mass celebrated by Padre Pio, and the private encounter he had with him in the sacrament of reconciliation. Both moments touched his heart deeply and were remembered fondly throughout his life. 14 years later, in 1962, already as Monsignor Wojtyla and involved in the preparatory sessions for the Second Vatican Council, he was surprised by the news of the serious illness of his personal friend, the Polish doctor Wanda Poltowska. Deeply concerned about the situation, and knowing the special power that Padre Pio had in interceding with God, Wojtyla decided to write to the Capuchin friar, asking for his prayers for the healing of Wanda, a devoted mother of 4 daughters. The letter was delivered personally to Padre Pio by a friend of Wojtyla. After reading the contents, Padre Pio uttered a phrase that would become famous: "I can't say no to this one." And, as if he had already foreseen the impact of this intercession, he added, "Keep this letter because one day it will be important." A few days later, Wanda decided to undergo surgery to treat the cancer she had been diagnosed with. However, to everyone's surprise, the last test carried out before the operation revealed that the tumor had mysteriously disappeared. What seemed like a miracle manifested itself in an impressive way, and Wanda's health was completely restored. Wojtyla, deeply grateful, wrote another letter to Padre Pio, this time to thank him for his intercession. In response, the Capuchin friar, with his prophetic wisdom, once again spoke to the young priest in enigmatic words. Karol Wojtyla would visit San Giovanni Rotondo on 2 more occasions. The first was in 1974 as Cardinal of Krakow, when he returned to Padre Pio's tomb to celebrate the anniversary of his ordination to the priesthood. This gesture symbolized his deep reverence and gratitude for Padre Pio, who was gone, but whose spiritual presence remained strong in his life. The second visit took place in 1987, when Wojtyla, already elevated to the pontificate as John Paul II, returned to San Giovanni Rotondo on a special occasion, the centenary of Padre Pio's birth. During this visit, the Pope, now at the head of the Catholic Church, once again knelt before the tomb of his former friend and intercessor in a moment of intimate and silent prayer. This spiritual connection between 2 giants of the faith would continue to be remembered as a bond that transcended time and difficulties, uniting them in devotion and service to the Lord. A deeply significant aspect of the relationship between Padre Pio and the future Pope John Paul II are the 2 extraordinary revelations that the Capuchin friar made to the young Polish priest. During a confession in 1948, the then Father Karol Wojtyla, curious about Padre Pio's stigmata, asked him which of his wounds caused him the most pain. Padre Pio, with a surprising answer, revealed, "No, what hurts the most is the wound on my back on the right side." This mysterious wound, often forgotten, was similar to the one Christ suffered while carrying the cross on the way to Calvary. Padre Pio explained that this 6th wound on his shoulder was the one that tormented him the most because it was in a constant state of suppuration and had never been treated by doctors. This revelation not only impacted Wojtyla, but also symbolized the profound mystery of redemptive suffering that they both shared, each in his own mission. Padre Pio, known for his gift of clairvoyance, went further in this encounter. Not only did he talk about his physical wounds, but he also made a remarkable prophecy. He predicted that the young Polish priest would one day unexpectedly become pope. In addition, Padre Pio had a dark vision relating to Wojtyla's future pontificate, mentioning that he would face blood and violence. At the time, Wojtyla reacted with disbelief, perhaps even humor. "Father, you're joking. I'm Polish. I can never be pope." However, For Padre Pio, it wasn't a joke, but a true revelation. On October 16, 1978, the prophecy came true when Karol Wojtyla was elected Pope John Paul II. And the second part of the prophecy, concerning violence, was also fulfilled when, on May 13, 1981, the Pope was attacked in St. Peter's Square. The attack almost cost him his life, but he survived, believing that the Virgin Mary had deflected the fatal bullet. The authenticity of this prophecy was confirmed years later by various sources, including the Polish Monsignor Edward Nowak, who worked for many years as secretary of the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. When John Paul II was asked if Padre Pio had really predicted his pontificate, the Pope laughed a lot, but avoided giving a clear answer. On another occasion, when Monsignor Cosimo Francesco Rupi asked the same question, the Pope gave an enigmatic answer: "They say so." Although John Paul II has always maintained a reserved stance on this subject, he has never denied the prophecies made by Padre Pio. These revelations are part of a profound spiritual legacy that unites two of the Catholic Church's most beloved figures. In addition to his physical suffering, Padre Pio carried the spiritual weight of predicting times of great trial for the Church, including the apostasy of many priests. His visions and prophecies served as warnings, but also as signs of hope for those who remained faithful to Christ's mission. Now, to reflect on all this, I ask you, have you ever prayed to Padre Pio for a special intention? What kind of requests did you bring to him? Leave your comments and share your experiences. If this video has touched your heart, don't forget to like it and share it with your friends, and keep following us for more inspiring stories and revelations. Thank you for watching this video. Leave your like and subscribe to the Living Hope channel on YouTube. Activate notifications by clicking on the bell to receive other publications.